Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Tommy, Legendary Gamer. Today I'm going to be reviewing Okami for the PS3. I also have some footage of the Wii version and I will be talking about it, doing a bit of a comparison on whether or not the motion controls really help this game out. The original Okami came out in 2006 on the PS2 and it was a bit of a sleeper hit. It came out during the year that Kingdom Hearts 2, Final Fantasy XII, and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess were released. Not to mention, PS3, the Wii were also released. So it's kind of a bad year for Capcom to put out a new IP. Even if it was in the spring, there was still plenty of games out that year to really hog the attention. That said, Capcom has released this game twice now, and as I mentioned, the Wii and PS3 versions, which I own. If I have to give out a recommendation, though, I would recommend the PS3 version over the Wii, because the controls for the Wii version feel like they've been cramped in. I'll get more into that later in the review, though. Now, the game opens up with a 15-minute or so narrative. Yeah, a very long opening. But it helps retell a story that's set kind of like an old Japanese folk tale. It basically tells about a giant serpent named Orochi who plagued the small village of Kamika by eating young women. He also had a serpent, a white wolf, that would prowl the village. One day when the great swordsman Nagi's girlfriend is chosen to be the serpent's next lunch, Nagi decides to go to the moon cave and try to finish off Orochi before this happens. To his surprise, though, he gets aid from the White Wolf, who sacrifices itself to save Nagi and to make sure that he is successful. To honor the White Wolf, the villagers of Kameki erect a White Wolf statue. 100 years pass, and Orochi again rises to cause trouble around the area of Kameki. The guardian tree of the village, Sakuya, manages to use the last of her power to resurrect the White Wolf, whose real name is Okami Amaterasu. Now, this is an important name. Okami means high god in Japan, and Amaterasu is the top god of their theology. She is the sun god, and she is equivalent to Zeus, I guess, when it comes to her place in their theology. Now, Okami also can mean white wolf, hence the kind of the play in words here, making her the playful white wolf that you use in the game as your character. The story is told usually through text, and although the opening is a really long narration, the story rarely stops that long. Usually it's quick 2 or 3 minute bursts whenever you do get into another narrative segment, so it really doesn't drag out too long. The characters are fun and very colorful. The story moves along at a really fast rate. And another interesting thing about Okami is that unlike, say, Super Mario Bros. 3 with the leaf and the raccoon tail, which is based on their belief of what tanukis can do in their tricks, or say a few other games like the Fiends in Final Fantasy X, which is based off some of their ghost stories, Okami just doesn't throw one or two pop culture or folk references at you. It throws the whole book of Japanese culture at you. Ow! While I recover from that concussion, let me tell you exactly what I mean. A lot of Japanese folk tales are represented in Okami. These include things like Sparrow and the Woodcutter, which you can see here in this clip, which is me running around their spa. Another has you going into the Water Dragon Palace, which is another Japanese folk tale. And still another famous one, the Bamboo Cutter, is also retold. Each one of these is given a bit of a comic and satirical twist. However, satirical and comical, it's not really cynical. So, like I said, it's a really great way to re-explore these myths and give them a little bit of a new twist. And I love the game story for this. What can I say about the graphics in this game other than they're beautiful? I just love the watercolored look that's in this game. It looks like it's an old painting that's come to life. It's just beautiful to look at. The colors just work well. It's one of a kind in its look. Now, one of the arguments that was happening during the PS2 era when this game was released was the argument of how well these cel-shaded games would hold up. Most people who would defend them said they would last forever. Now, that's not quite true. If you do play a PS2 game on a modern day TV, you will notice the colors are still bland, and cel-shaded games actually look even blander because of that. However, I noticed that once they get an HD transfer and the colors are up, you can't tell the difference between these and a new game. Okami on the PS3 with the HD does not look like it's a game that's about to turn 10 years old and little less than 2 years from now. Onto the Wii version, it's not bad either. It's still beautiful. It broadcasts at 480p rather than the 720p that the PS3 does. This is, of course, if you have component cables or if you're running it on a Wii U through the Wii U's HDMI cable. Sound-wise, you get some epic sounding music that just fits in with the game. The score is excellent. There is no voice acting in this game, rather the characters speak gibberish. But this also kind of helps. Your main character is a wolf, so it kind of helps that she doesn't go around speaking to humans. Rather, when you do have to speak to a human villager, they do a Zelda Twilight Princess and have Ishun, the wandering artist, who is this little flea-like character that hitches a ride on Amaterasu's forehead. And he does the talk. The music in the game fits appropriately well, and all in all, the sound is amazing, even if it is a bit old school. What Okami is, as far as gameplay is, think of what the best of Zelda is. You get a huge overworld and some very creative dungeons. One of the big differences, though, is Zelda gives you items to complete your dungeons, while Okami will give you something called brushstrokes. These brushstrokes can be used to create bridges when the bridges are broken. It can help you cut down obstacles in your way, even cause gusts of wind to knock down your opponents in combat. On top of being able to use brushstrokes, Amaterasu can equip things like holy beads that act like whips, swords, and even shields. Between using the brushstrokes and your different weapons along with enemy gimmicks, there's always a little bit of a puzzle element to each fight, trying to figure out which enemy is weak against what. And it does add to a lot of fun. The game, however, is not that challenging. As long as you keep battling so you have loot, and then do certain side quests like either feed animals or bloom trees or a few other fetch quests for people you meet in villages to earn praise so you can level Amaterasu up, you really won't find the game hard. I went through the game without dying. All you have to do is make sure you max out your bones that you can purchase to keep yourself healthy, and you can truck your way through the game pretty easily. If I have to give out the one thing that ticks me off about the game, is that there's a certain boss that keeps popping up again and again after you kill it. You gotta fight this thing 3 times in the main story mode. And he's not that hard a boss, but he does take a lot of damage. And he gets annoying fast. I can't tell you who he is because that would be a major plot spoiler, but look out, he keeps coming back and he kind of gets on my nerves at least. Now on to my problems with the Wii version. Now it isn't anything to do with pixels or resolution, it has everything to do with crappy motion controls. A good Wii port like Resident Evil 4 uses the motion controls to help you get into the game more. Okami, on the other hand, motion control is more of a hindrance. Watch this footage. See how hard it is for me attacking and how clumsy I'm playing? It seems that regardless of how hard I shake the Wii remote, she still doesn't attack. This compared to PS3 controls, which are a bit button mashy but are very responsive. Now, if this was just combat, it would be somewhat forgivable, but even the painting controls seem to be clumsy on the Wii, which is a shame because it seems like it's built for it. Now watch me play a PS3 version where I cut this rock in. All it took was one slash and I was in. Easy peasy. Now watch the Wii version. That is one. Here comes two. And finally on the third strike I get it. And to make matters worse, there are areas in the game that if you miss a slash, you have to repeat the whole section over. And you can even lose during these segments. So having this imprecise Wii motion controller rather than making it a more absorbing game actually hinders you from enjoying the game. And that's the biggest sin any bad Wii game commits with the motion controls. Okami for the PlayStation 3 gets a 5 out of 5 for me. It's worth playing. I give Okami for the Nintendo Wii only 3 out of 5. Its lousy motion controls almost wreck what is a really great game. It might still be worth a try if you only own a Wii, but if you have a PS2 or PS3, you should really check it out on those consoles. There is no classic controller or GameCube support for the Wii, so its motion controls are bust if you own the Wii.